Hello, welcome to an episode of Kingdom Social Justice Solutions. I'm your host, Shalonda Ajabola. Yes, that's right. I got married. I got a new last name. It has been a while, I think since last year since I've posted, and I looked on my channel. I see there's actual followers, and I'm like, the thing is, life has been happening. A lot has happened. But I feel a surge and an urge to get back on here. And part of that is sharing some of what has happened since the last time I posted an episode. But happy to be back and excited, still pumped about solutions. I pumped and feeling encouraged, feeling inspired, feeling motivated, and I want to pass that energy on to you. I'm happy to have with me my dear sister, Mrs. Joanna Adebiyi. She also got a name change. The show I want to talk about today, we're talking about the subject of leaving a legacy. So we're still talking about solutions, and this is going to be more conversational. There's a bunch of statistics. We can really delve into that. But I wanted us to kind of share our experiences. We both got married in the same year, last year. We're both in our 40s, so it has been a journey. We're both preacher's daughters, so it's a lot. We could do a whole series on the whole situation about relationships, and I know a lot of people are doing podcasts and YouTube videos on relationships, and we're not necessarily trying to compete or trying to come out with some 5 steps to catch a man or anything like that. But I am a firm believer that one of a major issue in our communities has to do with the breakdown of the family, and that's a social justice issue. And when that breakdown happens, there's so many other effects. Things that affect our community, especially the African American community. And so one of those things is making sure we have a solid families. And what I'm going to do, I have my sister, and let me go ahead, Mrs. Adebiyi, you want to greet us?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for allowing me to broadcast episode with you. Happy month, those who listen. We've entered to the middle of the year, but it's not over. God has He can do some great things in last close to less than 60 days before the end of the year. But thanks for having me.
Yes, it's my pleasure. I'm excited, and like I basically said is in my intro, I believe family is a strong family is a solution to a lot of the issues we're seeing in, I would say, primarily to a certain extent. But I would say this also is global, but just going off of what we've experienced in the American society, in the African American communities, the dysfunction and the attack on family. I want to read a quote from Dr. Tony Evans, his book, Kingdom Agenda. He's a pastor of a church, Oak Cliff Family, Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship in Dallas, Texas. Right, Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. Thank you. Right here in Dallas, Texas. And it reads, the disintegration of the family is the single most devastating internal issue facing our nation in general and our communities in particular. Families touch every area of society. Their strengths and weaknesses, to a large degree, determine the strength and weaknesses of churches and communities. So we believe the breakdown of the family, and that's what Dr. Evans is saying, and he's not the only one. Believe me, you can go out and you can do your research and see there's all kinds of people that have been able to show a link between the breakdown of the family and crime, and health issues, economic issues. I mean, we talk about single parent homes and how that affects economically. Education is just so many things are affected when the family is falling apart. And so so maybe I'll start with my sister, Mrs. Adebiyi, Joanna, kind of telling our journey. And like I said before, we're both preachers' kids. Of course, our father has passed on, but both preachers' kids. So we just knew, we would we would have met somebody. We grew up in a 2-parent home, so that's, I mean, this is all we know. So, and she can speak definitely for herself, but it was not our expectation that we would not get married for the first time until we were in our 40s. So Juwan, if you want to go ahead and just kind of explain kind of where you were at in your journey, or kind of what your expectations initially growing up, and then how their journey moving forward in regards to marriage.
Okay. Yeah, growing up, I because our parents met each other when they were young, they were teenagers and grew up in the same neighborhood. Then I think I kind of assumed that, okay, somebody in high school, then I graduated and friend relationship. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe in college, meet somebody. Stayed in Kansas City, was still living at home, but I went to UMKC community college at first, for first 2 years, and transferred to AC. College came and went, relationships. So I'm like, okay, well, like Shalana mentioned, you were pastors, but we didn't, it wasn't a large church, and there wasn't a lot, there wasn't a lot of um, candidates, so I'm like, okay, well then at my job, I'm a federal employee, been a federal employee over 20 years. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll meet somebody in my job. And there was someone that I did, like, I believe that could have been a potential mate, but he not share the same feelings for me. So as I hit my 30s, I'm like, okay, this actually longer. I mean, my parents were like, "What's going on?" My father started introducing me to people, on the radio, and we would be out because what's going on? Parents, they're over 20 years married. I think well into the 30 years. Before he passed, they would have, I think, would have been around 4 years, and it just was like, so me and Shonda started, well, then Angela, our youngest sister, got married. And so I'm like, okay. At first, so I kind of had mixed feelings. I'm like, okay, well, she's the pressure of me being the oldest one, having the wedding. So I got pressure. I'm pressured to do that. And then, of course, unfortunately, our father passed there after he walked her down the aisle. So that was, to my singleness and the hope for marriage, that was kind of an adjustment, because as a girl growing up, you think, okay, my father's going to win down the aisle. But when he passed away, I'm like, wow, this is changing things of how my future.
So when I was mentioning about our youngest sister getting married first, so that I had mixed feelings about it. That I'm like, okay, well, as the oldest, I don't have the pressure of the first wedding and everything. But then 2 years later, our father passed, and that really kind of, now that I think about it, and even more so then, but I probably didn't really realize how much, because I was still grieving his death, but realizing that, okay, now if I still believe in God for marriage, but now my father's not in the picture, so he won't meet the person, he won't be able to walk me down the aisle, so it really changed my whole expectation about me being married, other than the fact that it was already taking longer than what I expected, what our family had expected. So I would say it's a 20-year journey, because when I did get married, one of the things I remember our father telling me was that, well, just think about it this way: when you get married, even though it was a couple of things he mentioned. He said, one, I will be older and more mature versus when him and our mom got married. They got married in their 20s. My mom was like, yeah. He was 19, my mom was 20. Our mom was 20, and he mentioned about having to grow up in marriage, whereas us being older, getting married later in life, we potentially wouldn't have to deal with that. And then the other thing he mentioned was, even though it it would seem like because we waited so long that, maybe the length of marriage may not be long, but it would be much more rich. So those are two things that I remember. So when I did meet my husband and we got married last year, one of the things that really struck me was that I thank God for hearing our prayer because, as you know, Shalonda may or may not mention, but we started praying daily in 2019 when we heard a series called the Crazy Faith series from by Pastor Michael Todd of Transformation Church. We took that faith and started praying every day, praying The Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy O'Martin. And last year our prayers manifested, and we both met our husbands. So one of the things I took from that was that, Lord, I wouldn't want to wait 20 years, and I say 20 years because I can, from as far as I can remember, I wanted to be married around the age of 25, 26. So I got married before my 45th birthday. My prayer before was to be married before. As I got older, I had different prayers. Okay, I want to be married by the time I'm 30. Okay, I'm already 30. I want to be married by the time I'm 40. And like before I turn 40, I'm like, Lord Jesus, please let me get married before I turn 45, 50. Because then the whole thing about, having children, like that was a whole other piece too as I got older. But anyway, the main thing I would say when I reflected over the 20 years of waiting, of singleness, I said, Lord, I wouldn't want to have waited another 20 years, but I am grateful. My father was right. Our father was right. I am grateful to have met my husband at this point in my life because I, had already been a homeowner twice. Already, educated, got my master's degree. I had excelling in my career, travel, all of these different things. I didn't wait until I got married. And I'm grateful. So then now at this point of marriage, my husband adds to me. We're enjoying things together, but I didn't put life on hold because, I wasn't married. So that's a summary of expectations and how I dealt with those.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And I'm sure a lot of women can relate. And as you basically were just describing how the prayer changed and the things you did, but yet living and enjoying your single life. And then that's with me as well. Ran into so many other women. So the thing is like, this is not something, an isolated event, or, these are a lot of us as African-American women, with education, that's doing well, successful, like you said, bought a house, have achieved some other things. And like, I guess for me, actually, I wanted to wait to buy a house with my husband, but it's just as you keep waiting, then like some decisions I had to go ahead and just make. And so different, there are a number of women, and I guess I want to break the myth that maybe men may feel out there, that when a woman is successful, because that's the thing I think we are running into, were men that were intimidated by our success or by our independence or by our drive or our ambition. And but the thing is that we still wanted family, and of course we were looking for, and I believe I can, because when we were prayer partners, for those who don't know, there's people that come together and agreeing on something, and we pray and kind of like accountability partners and just support partners. But just focusing on that. So, but I do want to mention, but still, that being something that we desire, that like despite having all these other things, family is still something that we desired. And I want to go back to another quote in the Kingdom Agenda from Dr. Tony Evans. He says that family was established to provide the opportunity and framework for individuals to collectively carry out the plan of God in history. So I can definitely say for me, I felt like it wasn't just so I can have the picture with my family in the matching pajamas. I felt a call, I felt there was a reason. And like I said at the beginning, that because of the disintegration of family and how it's affected our society, and like also with the essence of this show is leaving a legacy. We want to be able to pass on generational wealth, and so but using the family as a tool, as a catapult, as a foundation, as a vehicle, if you will, a vehicle to accomplish God-given vision, mandates, purpose. So it's tying back to a whole lot of things, and the essence of it is it's bigger than us. And I think that's what we're trying to get across, because it's a lot out there. People are jaded. People are, and it's these being out here in them dating streets was rough. I mean, it was rough out there. There's just a lot of trauma, just a lot that people are dealing with, and so much in the media, and just how the society has changed. And so I want to encourage, and I think the essence of what we did is that we didn't give up. But one thing I do remember talking to my sister and kind of just saying as an encouragement, is like, God has blessed us, and we've had amazing opportunities to go to school, opportunities on our jobs and promotions, and just opportunities to move away and go to different places and just experience and even travel and do so many things. And my thing was just like, I believe our God is big enough that, if he can move forward and bless us and advance us in these other areas, we can't say, but in this marriage area, he, that's where he's like, oh, that's a little bit, that's out of my league. I can't handle that. I'm like, no, the same God that blessed us to achieve certain things, because it's a goal, shout out to Relationship Goals by Michael Todd, but it's a goal, and God bless us. So the same way we had goals, and that's kind of what I was encouraging my sister, is like, no, the same way we had goals to get this promotion, to get this opportunity, God will bless us with this as well. And so our next chapter is going to be having children, even this against all the odds, and like I said, me and my sister both are in our 40s. So but I want to encourage, and another thing I had to remember, I remember us talking about being single and feeling like we was forgotten by the married people. And so we were like, well, when I get there, we can't be forgetting about our single people. And so maybe this is throwing a lifeline out to our single people. We haven't forgotten you. We are, what I want to do, we're going to take a quick break and come back, and I want to talk about maybe some of the things. Like I said, once again, we don't have 5 steps to land a man, 5 steps to get married in 6 months. All we can do is share from our experience, things that because I've had the list, but so things that we did to try to move forward and achieve this goal. So take a moment, sit back, and we'll be right back. Hello, it's Shalonda Smith. I'm your host of the podcast Kingdom Social Justice Solutions. Just want to encourage you to keep listening. You can listen to where you regularly listen to your podcasts on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor. So definitely look forward to hearing your feedback and hearing your suggestions, or just let me know how you like the podcast. Hoping to keep bringing you great content, and you can contact me if you want to connect at my website at www.kingdomlawjustice.com. You can also send me an email at kingdomlawllc@gmail.com, or you can check out the Facebook page at Kingdom Law LLC on Facebook. All right, look forward to hearing from you. You take care. Until next time, keep fighting the good fight and make every second count. Hello, and welcome back. We're still talking about leaving a legacy. We were getting deep, talking about leaving a legacy, talking about marriage. Like I said, I still talking with my sister Joanna, talking about us getting married in our 40s, when it was looking kind of touch and go for a minute there, but the essence of it is we didn't give up, and that's what we want to encourage those out there that are still hoping to get married, still waiting and looking for marriage. But in going back to the quote from Dr. Tony Evans from his book, what I had read earlier, it says that family was established to provide the opportunity and the framework for individuals to collectively carry out the plan of God in history. So the thing about, and we've also talked on this podcast before about purpose. Sometimes the thing about purpose, and when we talk about vision, generally, if it's a God thing, sometimes you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. You're actually going to need some help to accomplish that. Generally, you hear people talk about the vision, or it's bigger than me. God give you something that's bigger than you, because think about it, we're interconnected. It's 8 billion people on the earth, so it's almost logical to expect that we need each other to accomplish goals in life and on the earth. We're interdependent. We need each other. That's the essence of it. And so the foundation of that, the framework for that generally is family, is in relationships. So Joanna, as we were talking on the break, and I'm looking at partnerships. So what is, or how do you see partnership being instrumental in accomplishing this plan of God in history, as the purpose of family is?
Well, I mean, I think that's why even when you are dating someone or getting to know someone or considering someone, there is you're two different people, but there is some time that needs to take place to determine, do you guys have the same goals, the same aspirations for legacy, like what the topic is for legacy. Like, even if it's a different approach of how to get there, but is it similar?
Right.
One, is it based in, faith and the principles of God and the principles of Christianity, and like the Bible says that one could put 1,000, like two could put 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says that also another scripture that mentions that two are better than one, but a 3-stranded cord cannot be easily broken.
Yeah.
And when I hear that, and of course, for those that may be familiar with the movie and or the book that Pastor T.D. Jakes wrote about not easily broken. But I mean, those things that, there is power in numbers. I mean, God is all about family. That's why he created family. He didn't leave the world with just Adam. He made Eve.
Right.
In order for them both to, replenish the earth, to dominate the earth. And so just as that is why, he created family. And if you are a believer and believing in the principles of God and the purpose of what God has created us for purpose, then I believe that marriage is something that, we can have if you want it. It's not, because I know that there's, not to take it a whole different thing, but, people come from different situations, come from different faith-based backgrounds, denomination, and different things. And unfortunately, the way that marriage, especially for those who want to be married and don't understand the prolongedness, and a lot of times people have tried to give reasons for it instead of just saying that they don't know.
Yes.
It's like, just say you don't know why it's taking so long. But we have to agree that there is an attack on marriage. So there is a spiritual attack. There is an enemy that will attack, and that can manifest itself into prolonged singleness. But anyway, once that partnership comes, then you are able to, both together with the purpose that God has created in me, God has created my husband, we can together double impact for the glory of God and advancement of his kingdom. But definitely, and it was things that he was already doing for him, aspirations, and have things that I was already doing. So now, as we're together, we're bringing our desires, our plans, our desires of pleasing God, our nonprofits, business together. So the things where he's lacking, I'm able to to add.
Right.
And where I'm lacking, he's able, to add. So there is power in partnerships. And again, not just in marriage, but even in business partnerships and friendships. But again, you do have to be strategic, because not everybody, just because you meet someone, and I can say even in my singleness, I've met plenty of people who are also single, but you know what? I'm still not friends with them or not as connected with them because they weren't going the same way. They didn't have the same principles or the same, we didn't align similar, or there was a time in a season where we came together and then, we had to part ways. So partnership is so important, so much so that you need to be prayerful about who you partner with, whether it's a romantic relationship or not, and then also prayerful about what it is that you partner in.
Right. Yeah, and that thing about unity, there's power in unity, and there's slogans, and we say different things, but it's very true. And so the antithesis or the attack against it is the division, and that's what we see. That's what we see that breeds conflict when there's division. Even the saying pretty common is united we stand, divided we fall. But that thing is you can't progress when you're divided. You can't, you remain stagnant. It's almost like you abort your dreams, your visions. The family is not able to move forward. And as the saying is, we can't move forward as a people, can't get anywhere as a people as long as we're divided, as long as we're fighting amongst each other, as long as there's conflict. You see that in nation, you see that on the nation level. And so, but we're bringing it down to the family level because it has to start somewhere. So when you think about conflict, and there's conflict going on in the Middle East, and conflict in so many different, in Ukraine, and even conflict here, social conflict, so many different conflicts. So, but at the essence of it, conflict starts in that home and that house between the husband and wife, the brother and sister, the children, the mother and the daughter, the father and the son. And so the thing about the beauty of family, and it is supposed to a healthy family encourage unity. And when a family is strong and unified, then they can go out and they can share the fruit of that healthy family as they go to school, as they go to work, as they're in the community, as they go into their places of worship, as they're going to the community centers, as they're voting, as what's called the PTA meetings. So all those different things, it's very necessary. And so, and let's tie this back into partnership being necessary. And as you were saying, I like how you pointed that out, is that making sure you're aligned, but aligned on something that I guess is positive, something that you want, because there are people out, it's all kind of people. And that's the thing about it with us, once again, being in our 40s, we met a lot of people, we've been around. So we met different people. And so that's the thing, being able to discern on, okay, with this person and their goals and what they're trying to do, their purpose, does it align with what I'm doing? It may be a good thing, but does it align with what I feel like God has put me into? And I think so part of that may be us getting more clarity on what we're supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you know where you're going, then you know who to take with you, and you know who to join up with. And that's also going back to partnership. It's like when you know where you're going and you know where the goal is, what you want to achieve, then you know who you're better able to pick a partner. And like I said, we know everybody. There's people that got, met each other, like our parents met each other as teenagers. They didn't know what they were doing. Of course, a lot of, even us, and what we thought about life and about ourselves at 18 and what we're doing now is totally different. So, we're all at different stages at different times, but if you are right now able to kind of do some self-introspection, some be more self-aware and find out, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? Where should I be just in life? What does God put me on here to do? And so then it becomes a little bit more easier to find out who to align with. And those are questions to ask. So before we jump into the generational wealth, I want us to give maybe some tips. And once again, like I said, we are not a relationship coach. We're not, therapists or things like that in regards to those things. But I would just say some things that we practice. How about some principles? Let's just give our audience some principles that we use and how to weed through. Because I think another thing, people are just kind of nervous. So I think people at some point just give up. They're like, look, it's like a minefield out there. I don't even know what to do. And then people lie and all this stuff. And then some people are scared of the online, because I'll point that out. We both met our husbands online. So I mean, if you can buy toilet paper online, and we can get some husbands online. So I mean, it's not like we, ordered and you pick and then Amazon shipped them and they dropped them off in 2-day shipping. But I'm just saying the essence of, we had to kind of get away from this online thinking that it's not like a real man. Like, hey, you find your house by looking online, you find jobs by looking online. So we're in an online age. So it's okay, let's remove the stigma. The thing is you want a partner. Yeah. So let's get online and let's figure out what's out there. But so Joanna, what are some tips that you kind of use? Because you've met, like I said, we talked, so I know the different ones you ran up against. So what were some things or things that you may learn? You like, okay, well, next time I'm gonna do this, like to kind of narrow and weed through, what was out there.
Well, one thing that I, did, and I will say, and not to be afraid, especially as you get older and you start trying. And reality is, you do make adjustments.
Right.
But I did not bend on my standards.
Okay.
And my standards was that that I was not going to engage in premarital sex.
Okay.
As part of our relationship, and that the person needed to be in a relationship with God, and to be someone that loved me. Like, those were the 3 things. I had a list, but when I looked at, okay, well, what are the main things?
Right.
Now, of course, there's some other aspects, but at the end, I grew. I evolved in my singleness. I had a lot of expectations. I said I would never marry someone who had been previously married or had kids before. I am my husband's second wife, and he has a daughter. So, I mean, over time, I realized, okay, that now I'm not saying that whoever, if that's something that you want and believe God for, great. But I'm saying for me, I did over time, because one, I had to look at myself and say, okay, I'm always around people and their kids. So why would I limit myself from being able to love someone who has and their children? Because I knew that God created me with a capacity to do so. So that limited my pool. So once I opened that up, that opened my pool. But yeah, I did meet a lot of people, but those were my main standards. Thankfully, I had a great relationship with our father, so I knew what a man, and definitely the way that he loved our mother.
Yeah.
So I looked for, how does this man how does he treat me, and how does he treat women in his life? So those were my main things that I stuck with, and sometimes was ridiculed by both women and men. And sometimes some believers and non-believers, because of my standards. But that is something that I stuck to, and God honored it, and my husband honored it, and I thank God for it.
Yeah, and those are definitely good things. And like I said, as you said, you evolved, you changed, you modified. And I think that's the thing, is us learning how to be flexible. And like I said, never anything to, like I said, where you're compromising with your beliefs, your strong beliefs, your values, or, putting yourself in dangerous, toxic situations, and just like, oh, I'm just going to settle for this. But just like you said, just being more open-minded and realizing, you know what, this is not a deal breaker. I can make this work. Like you said, I've already around people and, and their kids. So it's not as bad as I, was maybe anticipating. The other thing I was going to mention about the strategy on, I guess for me, that I use was, and I feel, and people, please take it with understanding where I'm coming from. And because I liken it to, like, okay, so recently I was on Amazon looking for some trimmers, some clippers. There were so many things to choose from. And I don't know, even if you guys went to Walmart lately and you look at the aisle of deodorant, the aisle of shampoos and stuff, like, it's sometimes you get a little overwhelmed with all the choices. And I think that's where a lot of people are sometimes. It may be from the men's side, where they're just so overwhelmed with all the choices. And so, but what do they have? They have a filter. There's a way to filter down. And so to help narrow down, because you recognize you're only going to pick one, so you can't take them all home. Right. So finding ways. And so I think that's what you had to come to. But the thing about it, the best way I feel like that helps with that, one of the best ways to help with that is online dating, because it allows you to narrow down. We can talk about some of the app. I mean, hey, we ain't getting paid by them, but but you know the mainstay apps. Even though I didn't meet my husband on one of the known apps, it was an app that I was led by the Holy Spirit to this app. I don't even hear about this app, so that definitely was a miracle. But that's what those apps do. They allow you to specify kind of what are you looking for? What are things important to you? Some of them ask questions about what you're like, what are your interests? And then have these algorithms that kind of help you match up. But even still, even as you get the responses, the clickbacks are the ones that you're matched with, you still can kind of go through and read through. And so it's almost one of those things where, please, give me some grace, but it's almost like someone that's won the lottery, and so they win all this money that's not used to money, and so then they want to go and buy up everything. And so I think that's what maybe some people, they get caught up in the fact that there's so many options, and so I want to try it all. Well, no, we don't. First of all, we don't have the time to be trying trying everybody. So you are some people that you may have to decline, that it may not be necessarily there's something wrong with them, but they're just not a match with you. And I think maybe that and this just kind of coming to me, that may be delaying some people's progress and them reaching the goal to get married, because they're trying to, well, let me try this one. But up front, this person told you something that you know what I'm saying, in your back of your mind, it was already a deal breaker. It was already something, or you hadn't planned on moving to Iowa, and this person lives in Iowa, and they're saying they don't plan on moving to Iowa, but yeah, you're like, oh, let me just talk to her for a few months, and then end up working out. And it's like, yeah, you knew from the beginning that she wasn't leaving and you wasn't leaving. So, but that's the thing. I think people waste time trying to they feel like, what's that called? The fear of FOMO.
Yeah, fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. And all you're doing is delaying. And it's the same. And so, like I said, I keep using this example because it is. It's like buying a house. And it's like, you feel like, I got to look at all the houses. You only going to pick one. You know what I'm saying? So narrow it down. And so especially, and I guess like for us, especially as we get closer to that time where we're like, look, we need to get married because we need to have children. So, I'm not going to spend hours scouring and then talk to every person that talk. You know how many people have that message me, and I'm sure Joanna and other one, so many people have met, and if we entertain every single one of them, but no. So what you do is find ways to narrow down, so you can narrow down to the ones, okay, these are the ones that actually are more aligned to what I'm looking for, and I think that would help some people. But once again, you got to know what you are looking for. Because that's one thing. I ran into a number of guys that have no idea what they're looking for. And that's the thing, that the essence of a lot of them, and not knocking all men, but a lot of some of these guys right here, you're just excited. You're like a kid in a candy store. You're just excited that there's so many available women that you feel like you got a sample. And then I'm not necessarily sleeping with all of them, but just entertaining all of them. And maybe women out there too. You feel like you got to entertain all of them. And I'm like, but all you're doing is delaying. Because the essence of when you finally find your purpose partner, then you can get going. You can start moving forward. So I know I kind of went off on a road with that. But Joanna, so what do you think about that?
Well, I was gonna say that was one of the things that even I was teased about, and I kind of felt bad in some ways, but again, I guess now the end goal is like it worked. Is that I did not waste time. Yes. I mean, I had a friend that told me that I kept guys on life support because, like, because to me, as I got older, I realized it didn't take a lot of time.
No, it doesn't.
I can tell in a 30-minute, 25-minute conversation whether a guy was somebody that aligned, like I said before, with my principles and where I was going. So I didn't waste time. I talked to a lot of guys. I did. There were times, like Shalonda mentioned, that I did entertain, but I got done. I was done with that because I realized that that's how people get caught up. And I said, I wasn't going to be like that. Yeah. People get in these situationships and it wastes time. Right. And I'm trying to get married.
Right.
So I did not I did not prolong things at all. Right. I cut guys off. Yes. And to, like I said, there's a way to go about it, because sometimes I wonder, I was like, man, because it doesn't feel good. But I think there is a way that you have to learn how to say no, or, just tell somebody honestly, you know what, this is not going to work. And I've done that, and I've had guys to really thank me for doing that. And so, but yeah, I do agree that you have to, use your filter. That's what the stamps are for.
Use a filter.
And then use the filter and hold to it. Don't be afraid to stick with it.
Right.
As people talk about it, it's like, hey, you got to have that vision in mind and stay focused.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the goal, because it's like, either do you always want to be in the seeking stage, or do you want to reach the goal? Do you want to cross the finish line? And I remember even my husband, when I met him, he was like, let's stop looking. He was like, look, I'm good. Like, let's stop here and just work on, because the other side of it, marriage is just the beginning. The wedding is just the beginning. The real work begins after. And so that's my thing. So imagine you spending all this energy and time dating this guy, and then breaking up, dating this other guy. And I'm just going from the female perspective, because we're female. Dating this other guy and getting into this situationship, getting your heart broke over here. And sometimes and we're not saying all was bad. Well, I'm sure we both had some good dates and good opportunity, did some good things. But the thing is, if you spend all your time, not to mention the emotional energy, the turmoil, especially when things don't work out, and you like, especially when somebody done lied to you, or you look back and, hey, been there, when you start going back, be like, okay, so he was doing X, that means you was probably, so when you said X, Y, you really was, so that all that stuff, you can, and sometimes some things we do go through, but you can save yourself a lot of that by doing that, like I said, that filter and weeding things out, because it's after the wedding, you got to deal with this one person, and the whole marriage and the thing that entails. And so you don't want to spend all your energy, your emotional strength, and your youth, just going through crazy relationship after crazy relationship. But so I want to tie back to and so that was the encouragement. I know I think we kind of hit that, being willing to be open. Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out was about moving. And so I moved from Kansas City to Texas. And Joanna, you can tell you moved as well. And I know some people probably, but the thing about it, I've even did that for a job. I remember telling somebody, I am a lawyer, and actually got licensed and went to law school in Missouri, but just, had different opportunities, but it didn't seem like it was going anywhere. It wasn't going where I wanted to go. It was almost like a ceiling that I wasn't comfortable with. So I got to a point where I was like, I'm going to have to move. I'm going to move to a place where more opportunity. And that's why I made the move to Texas, because a lot more opportunity. So my thing is, the same way I'm doing that for a career, that's what I did and what someone can do in regards to finding a mate, is broadening up your pool, meeting people that you wouldn't ordinarily meet. And like I was discussing this with my sister earlier, is by being in that, it's something about being in a new place and not being around your familiar surroundings. And it forces you to kind of get out of yourself. It forces you to talk to people you haven't talked to before. It forces you to work on those social skills and develop that and learn and just kind of integrate into a new community. And so that helps develop you in meeting new people and exposing you to new people as well. So Joanna, how about you? I know you moved away as well.
Yeah, I'm on my second move.
Okay.
I did Shalonda move first, and then I had did a detail with my job, and then I said, you know what? Because I wanted to make sure that our mom was okay.
Yeah.
Everything had settled about a couple of years, and then 2017, and I know we could do a whole nother podcast about relocating, and be helpful in a career.
Mm-hmm.
But I did move for a job and got open opportunity. I took the step of faith. I only knew one person that was there. She was a colleague. We have recently become, closer. And I met people there, established new life, and actually having left Kansas City, I ended up meeting my husband. Yes, we met online, but he lived in the same state that I was living in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It definitely, and then once I was like, oh, well, now that I've moved, I could do it again. And so my husband and I, we just recently moved again, earlier this year. Of course, he's ready to settle down. So I don't know how to move. See, now, that's the thing about marriage too. I'm not by myself no more.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I have to consider him. But, it was interesting. But I would say for me, it wasn't one of those things that I wouldn't necessarily say that I moved just for marriage. It was for multiple things.
Right. Yeah.
But I do feel like that it did put me in a different situation.
Yes.
It opened up doors in my career. It allowed me to see some things that, as far as in my growing up or how I lived life.
Okay.
So I'm grateful because I did grow spiritually. I did grow personally. So it was a game changer for me. And again, it's not something I stepped out on faith and opened the door. So and you have to be prayerful about what it is. And everybody's situation is different.
Right.
I had talked to my father about moving in the past, and and it didn't. Those weren't good conversations.
Right.
So I told God, I said, God, I will wait, and I feel that God honored me, so I don't feel like anything was wasted, no time was wasted, anything like that. I'm grateful that I was able to make the move and experience the things that I did. I mean, I was living my best life single.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was good.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, and then like I said, life is lived in seasons. And so, yeah, there are different things. Believe me, I wish I was a millionaire right now, but this is the season I'm in. So, but it's not saying that it won't happen. But then it also is not saying that it's a goal that I'm also trying to reach, financial freedom anyway. And as we segue into that, financial freedom is a goal. So yeah, I'm living and doing what I can, and definitely enjoying on my within my income level, as I say now, living within my current means. I'm living life, but yes, my goal is for financial freedom, and that's paying off debt. And once again, tying into the name, basically the title of this episode is leaving a legacy, and also, and like I said, social solutions to social justice issues. Because the thing about it, and even after 2020 with COVID and the George Floyd thing, and that's basically, we were like the new frontier, and I don't even know if you call it new frontier, maybe a new face to a old thing, but it's economic justice.
Yeah.
There is and even that ties into, and like I said, I've also did episode about this with Dr. Isela with school loans. Getting free, that's the thing. And as we seen, President Biden tried to do his best to try to cut us a break, fulfill his campaign promise. But yeah, being saddled down with school loans. And so a lot of people are stuck with that. But, and also we're talking about careers where you reach like a ceiling. You reach a place where you can't seem to move forward, can't seem to get that promotion, or, it's always where it's like the cost of living is going up. We got inflation, but yet our salaries are not matching up, we're not keeping pace with that. And so there's a matter of retooling, and Joanna and I are going to be probably doing some episodes and talking about some of those transitions and things. But in essence, what we're talking about is like how to build generational wealth. How do we try to prevent our kids from having to start over? How can we make sure that what we do right now, the sacrifices that we take right now, and what we build right now, we can leave something for our children, so give them a leg up, so they won't have to repeat. And that's the thing, they shouldn't have to repeat what we already went through. Now, they'll have their own set of challenges, but they shouldn't be having to go through some of the same stuff that it's like, I guess the essence of our generation should be fighting the giants. So our kids, well, not the same giants. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. That we'll fight the giants that our kids won't have to fight. And that's the hope and the prayer. And so the tying into partnership in marriage, in family, and how family can help build that generational wealth. Because the essence of it is what? Can you do it on your own? The thing is, we can succeed, we can get all these things, but there's even an African proverb that talks about, you can go there by yourself and, and I'm about to mess it all up, but the proverb about, but when you go together, that's the essence of it, is like, it's better when you go together, going with someone. But so that's the essence of partnership, of family, is that, you have a goal. And that's, I think, also part of what helped me with my husband, a lot of Ajibola, is that having that shared value and that alignment, that's what we wanted to do, make sure that our children are in a better situation than what we are in. That they won't have to go through the same struggles that we had to go through. We want to leave a legacy, leave them something. My husband even talked about having a trust fund, and so just knowing, if you knew our backgrounds, knew where we came from, and so to be having those dreams and those ideas. But the thing to know, and what he acknowledged, and I acknowledge as well, we needed each other. We can't do that by ourselves. You can't even have, I don't really get into reproduction and all that whole thing, but there's some things you just need a partner to do it. And I had made a determination, and I discussed this with Joanna a lot as well, because there is this kind of feminist movement where they're like, well, since we can't find men, I'm just going to go and have a baby. I am not going to do that to my child. Once again, we grew up with a 2-parent home, and our father was instrumental in raising us. He taught us a lot. He instilled in us. He was very prominent, present, instrumental in our rearing and growing up. So I'm not going to turn around and rob my child of a father, all for the sake of, since I can't find a man, and but to each his own. But that was one thing that was my commitment. If I want to have kids, but I want my kids to have a father, and have a father in the home. We're not doing this, every summer and once a weekend and all that kind of stuff. So, Joanna, you can touch on that as well. I believe you share that same sentiment.
Yeah, I had thought about it because I knew some people that did, but I had to look at, okay, do I only want to get, because I had a guy ask me that, so why do I want to get married? Is it so I can have kids? And I'm like, well, that wasn't the only reason that I married, and which, so that's why I did rule out having a child of my own, because as you mentioned that, our father was very significant in our lives, and I felt that was something that I wanted. God forbid something happens to my husband. So it's not, I just say that to say it's not my choice. I didn't want to choose to raise children on my own, even though I had opportunities to be a foster parent, and I was just like, but we all had choices. Right. Now, I tell God that if I was posed with it again, that I would, really seek him about maybe I should go ahead. But I really, it wasn't my choice to raise children on my own. I really do believe in a 2-parent home. And and that was another reason why I made the commitment not to engage into premarital sex as part of my, dating. Because that was how important it was to me. So, yeah, I do think that, the traditional family, there's so much that, again, the enemy, there's attack against it. Yeah. There's a lot of opinions about it. There's been a lot of disappointment, a lot of hurts, a lot of generational situations that have affected how people view the traditional family. And it's unfortunate, but it is also another motivator, I think, for both of us to wait to God for the promise that we was.
And so, and we kind of, as we wrap up, kind of, the thing is, we want to encourage. And once again, like I remember me and Joanna many times talk about people don't forgot about us singles, and I'm not saying that like when she even said, we were definitely living our best lives, but it was kind of it was still a goal that we wanted. And so we didn't want, we kind of would like some support. And so that's what we were trying to do as well. We remember what it was like being single and wanting to be married. Once again, because I'm putting that on there, because there's some people that are single and just fine, just peachy keen, and are not looking for marriage. But for those that is their goal and unashamed about it, we do want to encourage you to not give up, to be willing to get get out of your comfort zone, to be willing to truly, and I know people, I'm sure people are praying, seeking, fasting, doing all kinds of things. And of course, these are all people of the Christian faith kind of terms. In other faiths, I believe they obviously pray and fast as well. But but there are some I guess that's the thing, is sometimes we don't want to divorce the practical from the spiritual, or I guess when it comes to solutions. There's a spiritual element that, yes, you pray and you get people, you have a prayer group, prayer partner, and, you do the things within your faith. But then there's some very practical steps. It goes back to the very simple thing that they talk about. You can pray to get a job, but until you get out there and put in some application, generally nobody's going to come and just knock on your door and say, hey, I want to offer you a job making $70,000 a year. And that's what we had to come to the grips with when it comes to getting married and getting a husband, is that generally nobody's going to come knocking at your door and saying, hello, I'm your husband, So there are some practical things you're going to, have to do. And so that's what we're encouraging people to not forsake the practicality, and to not also give up when things may not be immediately happening. I mean, that's the thing, when even, like I said, if we bring it down to the very thing is like looking for a job or looking for a house. It's like, do you give up looking for a house just because, what I'm saying, the first 6 months you couldn't find a house? You give up looking for a job? No, you start trying to tweak. You either get help, maybe, you get you a realtor, you get a recruiter, you get somebody that can help you narrow down, you go on the websites and you're looking and you're getting alerts every day. So the same way is we just put forth that same energy to try to, that be your goal, to try to let's put some more effort and energy and trying to narrow this thing down. So the thing is, it's attainable. God is a provider, there's no shortage. There's 8 billion people on the earth. There's no shortage. So God has someone for you. If that is the desire He's put in your heart. Joanne, do you have any closing remarks?
One thing I will say, that in the last, I guess, maybe 6 months stretch before we met our husbands, one of my friends had sent me this prayer video,
Okay.
and one of the prayer points was, "It's my time, it's my turn."
Okay.
I think that was pivotal, and that the last stretch, because
Yes.
is when we met our husbands.
Mm.
Again, just like, you had mentioned, just encouraging it. And I will say that there are times, you do kind of have to regroup, especially appointment.
Right.
But definitely, don't give up if this is your desire. Believe God that this is your time, it's your turn, whatever, time frame that is, but believing that this is the season for what it is that you believe in God for marriage and family. And so, we're praying with you for those that know, because we've been there. We definitely understand. And just definitely get you some prayer partners, get you some people that you trust. And the other thing I would say is, be careful about.
Yes. I was going to say that. Yes.
Be careful about who you share your desires as far as marriage and family, because we may not realize that can be a hindrance as well. And you must realize that, there are some things that you are willing to consider, but because your family is not, you haven't seen it in your family or in your limiting your, options. And so, that could probably be a different podcast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that was just what I was thinking. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. It's like, because I was going to say, even, and also separate yourself from negative groups, because that's what I found too sometimes. And we've talked about this. Sometimes you get in a group and everybody's kind of sad and depressed. I'm like, oh, ain't done nothing. And I'm like, no, and like I said, I keep tying this back to other things. When you're trying to get out of debt, when you're trying to, get a job, you don't hang around a bunch of other people that also are depressed about, not reaching their goal. Especially if it's bringing you down. You want to be around somebody that is encouraging you. And when you're down, they can encourage you. And when they're down, you can encourage them. So that's what I'm saying. Just as my sister was just saying, get you a partner, somebody I can pray with and encourage each other. As I said, because there will be times of disappointment and then times of triumph. But yeah, you have to kind of step away from one of those negative circles and be careful even what you're listening to. There's a lot of people giving out some really scary stuff. It's really some very discouraging stuff, and then you wonder why people are not getting married. So, but we're believing for marriages, a floodgate of marriages in African American community. We need it. We need unity. We need strength. That's how we move forward. Unity is the way forward. Division is the way backward. So, I'm excited about this podcast. And believing now that we're married, there's all a lot of other stuff we're gonna be learning as well. But I see this as a solution. Marriage is a solution. That's coming from me. People may disagree, but I feel like marriage is a solution to some of the problems in our communities and our society because it's foundational, and so it's a start. So I thank you for tuning in to the podcast, Kingdom Social Justice Solutions. And until next time, keep fighting the good fight and make every second count.